What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode. I am flying solo today. Today's episode, I'm going to discuss my New York and my Disney trips. So if you have been following me on social media and seeing me traveling over the past 2 months in January and February, this episode is for you. Just recapping all of that, telling you some behind the scenes stuff. I know I've posted some photos, posted some reels, things like that, but if you want to hear some funny stories, this one is for you. All right. So I'm just going to start kind of in chronological order, I think. I think that's the best way to do it. So if you remember, if you follow me on Instagram or you're one of my friends, you know that I went to New York at the end of January. I was super excited to go. I was nervous that we weren't going to be able to go because it was either a week or two prior to us leaving at the end of January, we had a snowstorm. Basically, the whole United States had a snowstorm. Well, here in Alabama, it wasn't necessarily snow, it was ice. And I was just like, is this still going to be here? Are we going to be able to make it? But anyways, nonetheless, we were able to go. It was kind of a last minute trip that was booked. I wouldn't say necessarily, I guess last minute, but it was a pretty quick trip that we booked for one of my best friend Mal's birthday. If you remember, me and Mal went to New York a couple years back and we did a whole episode on reviewing New York, which I love New York. It's kind of odd that I love it because I'm so introverted and love being home, but I love when I'm there because I just feel, I don't know, it's like the only time I feel like I could be a city girl, even though I don't love crowded spaces and things like that, but there's just so much to do and I get to walk everywhere. So love that journey for me. But anyways, we flew out of Nashville, and just because if you know, Huntsville's airport is hellaciously expensive. You know that if you live here or if you've ever tried to fly into Huntsville or out of Huntsville, mostly because we have a lot of government jobs here. So of course, if the government's going to pay for the flights, why not jack up the prices? But we also don't have like a lot of budget airlines. We do have Breeze that's here now. That's a pretty good one. And then we don't have Southwest, and I love flying Southwest. I know there's like a lot of controversy over Southwest, and it's mainly, I think, because people can't pick their seat numbers. I personally don't care. Like, as long as I don't have the middle seat. I hate the middle seat, but I personally don't care. Like, if I'm going to have $150 cheaper flight and it's because I'm not picking my seat, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? So we flew out of Nashville. So that meant like we had to leave here to go there. And I am notoriously early for everything, but I'm just petrified of being late. I just hate being late. Number one, if you're late to a flight, you're going to miss your flight, and then that's a whole thing because we only stayed for, I think we left on Thursday. We either left Thursday or Friday. I can't remember, but I think we left on Thursday, and then we came back Sunday. So it wasn't very long. I think it was like 3.5 days or something. So if you miss your flight, then like that takes a whole day away, and you've got plans and stuff. Anyways, so when we were driving to Nashville, we ran into some traffic, which was causing my anxiety to go through the roof, but we were able to get around it thanks to Waze. If you are not using Waze app, highly recommend, because it got us out of that traffic jam and we made it in time with plenty of time to spare. We were able to eat and everything in the airport. So awesome. Love that. I was just nervous because of checking bags, because if you're going and you have a carry-on, you don't have to be there that early, but we were like cutting it close to where we were going to be there right at 45 minutes before our flight. And they say like, if you're there 45 minutes before your flight, then they cannot guarantee that your luggage is going to be where you are. And that's another huge fear of mine. Guys, I'm terrified, which means it's probably going to happen because I think about it all the time, and that's usually manifesting it into the future. But I'm terrified that my luggage is going to be stuck somewhere and I'm going to be without clothes. But like my friends say, there's stores everywhere. You can always make it into a positive situation. Trying to stay more positive. But New York was fun. We went in November last time. And I will say January was definitely much colder than when we went in November. All the Christmas stuff was up, so we didn't see any Christmas stuff, which I would hope it would be in January. But we got to go to Broadway. We did do a show Guttenberg. It was really funny. I can't remember the stars in it, but 2 actors that were in it. One that plays Olaf in Frozen, and the other one plays in Girls. That show is no longer like playing, but if you know those 2 shows, then you know who I'm talking about, and it was hilarious. I never had heard about the show until my friend Mal, she loves Broadway, she loves plays, she loves musicals, and I was like, what's this show about? And she was like, it's like comical, it's kind of funny, and then there's a guest star at the end of every show. Well, I didn't realize when we went that was their last like showing on Broadway of that show. So it was like packed to the walls. There was not an empty seat in the house. Everybody was dying laughing. Everybody was clapping and like just being hysterical. But when the guest star came out, it was kind of hard to know when she was coming out, because towards the end someone's cell phone rang, and then they just improv'd hilariously and basically, in a nice way, was like, rude. How do you have your cell phone on during our play? But we stood outside afterwards and we got to see them walk out, and highly recommend, if that show ever comes back around, or if they do the traveling Broadway, highly recommend that show. Some other things we did while we were in New York that was fun is we went and did like a karaoke room. I'm not sure why we don't have those here in Huntsville. Maybe they're coming, or like even I don't even know if they have them in Nashville, but it was a really fun experience and hilarious time. I know karaoke, number one, I cannot sing. Let's just put that out there in the universe. Yeah, it's not good. I thought I could when I was younger, and I used to force my friends to listen to me sing, but I feel like I'm a really great singer in the car by myself, like singing along with the artist. But obviously karaoke, the artist is not with you. It's just the lyrics on the screen and the tune coming out of the speakers. And I was way off beat a lot of times, and I was like, what the hell? I thought like at least there would be some voices like to carry you through to get you on beat. Nah, that's not how it was. So I definitely posted some of that on Instagram, and my friend Megan and her friend Kara were hilarious doing it. That was probably one of my highlight moments. Great night. Love doing that. My friend Megan is vegan, so whenever we travel outside of Huntsville, she likes to hit up some vegan spots. She does a really good job at like trying to get everyone's allergens and preferences in. She does a really good job of that. And she does do that well, because I think that when she goes places, she knows what it's like to not be able to eat somewhere with being vegan. But we went to some Michelin star restaurants that were vegan. And I'm probably going to botch these names, but if you ever get a chance and you're in New York and you're plant-based, or you just want to try some plant-based options, these 4 restaurants were amazing. Hangawi, I don't know, it could be that. Avant Garden, Butcher's Daughters, and Planta Queen. Those were all amazing. The food was all delicious. Our drinks that we had were delicious and different. Like there was like a lychee martini, which I know that's not different. A lot of people in big cities like love lychee martinis, but I had never heard of it. And so that was there. So many different drinks, and not full of sugar, if that makes sense. So kind of felt healthy in a way. But we got to go to some top star restaurants that were really cool. The atmosphere was really cool and just really one of a kind. So enjoyed that. So if you're ever in New York, highly recommend those. What else did we do? I'm trying to think. Oh, we did get to do like a somewhat club experience in New York. Me and Mal didn't do that last time, and I'm not really a quote unquote club goer. And I wouldn't necessarily say this was a quote club. This was more of a bar that ended up turning into like a dance place at night, I guess. A very small area, but it was very poppin'. I will say it was poppin'. And I did give my number to the bartender. He was cute. I don't know why I did that. Don't typically give my number out. But I was like, you know what? I'm in New York. Whatever. Never going to see this guy. Here's my number. No, we have not talked since then. But it was hilarious. And it did help us get some free drinks. So can't go wrong with some free drinks in New York when they are like $20 a pop. So Yeah, love that for us. But it was fun. We left the club, walked back. We were walking back to the subway to go back to our hotel. And of course, we're all tipsy, having a good time. Megan and Kara are singing in the streets. I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. And it was just a great time. And then, of course, I'm in some new boots that were walking in all day, which they were comfortable, mind you. It's just that walking in them all day, I then started having foot pain. It wasn't terrible. I was like, I could literally do it. It was fine. But I was like, Megan, y'all, my feet hurt. How much farther? How much farther? Being that person. And Megan was like, get on my back. I'll carry you. I was like, Megan, you cannot carry me. I am so heavy. She was like, no, you're not. I can carry you. Y'all, all of this is on video too. So it's hilarious. And I was like, okay. So I tried to jump on her back and she nearly fell backwards. It was so hysterical. And she was like, oh my God, you do way more than I thought you did. Not in a bad way. Like, she wasn't saying, like, she was just like, I didn't think that you were as heavy as you are, which I get that a lot. I just work out a lot, so I'm very stout, if you will. But it was hilarious. Like, those are memories that you just make with your friends that you're always going to remember. And then we have it on video, like just stupid things like going through the metro, like to get to the subway and using one card. And it was like, let's see if we can do it. Like, let's see if we can both bust through this, whatever it's called, this entrance with this one card. Not that we didn't have money to pay for it, but we just wanted to see if we could. And when we did, it was awesome. And I had said when I got there that in November when me and Mal had went that I didn't get to see any New York street rats. And I was like, everyone talks about how big they are. I want to see them. So we were all looking for them. And of course, in the subway that night, there was several of them down on the railroad tracks. And, they looked tiny from where we were, but of course they were probably large. And I was just terrified they were going to get hit by the subway, but they didn't. So that's good. I'm trying to think what else we did that was just so much fun. I mean, it was a fun weekend that we did. It was a quick trip. I did take my first trip to Brooklyn. We got to walk around Brooklyn. I bought me a dress by this artist down in Brooklyn. She sold like a lot of original pieces and designed a lot of original pieces. So really cool. Can't wait to wear that dress, but it's more of like a fancy dress. So I was like, I'll buy it. It's cute, but I don't know where I'm going to wear it. So maybe there'll be something I could wear that too. But that's pretty much all that happened in New York. Now, the next trip I took was to Disney. We just got back from Disney probably 3 weeks now, and that one was for Megan's birthday, and it was a girls' trip plus her Uncle Brian. He was the only guy that went, so bless Uncle Brian's heart for putting up with all of us women. It was several of us, actually. And I always travel to Disney with my friend Mal and Megan. They are well versed in the Disney era. They love Disney so much. And I just find Disney to be stressful if you do not know what you are doing, especially like trying to plan it all, because there's so many things that you have to remember to plan, like if you want to do restaurants or character things. And so I'm not the one to ask for that. I would highly recommend my friends. I'm trying to get them to do Disney travel agent stuff or booking a Disney travel agent because it's free to you. They get commission off of your trip, and they do make your trip so much more easier to navigate because it can be stressful and you don't want to go to Disney and it be stressful. So we went into February for Disney. And I will say this year, like I went, let's see, I think she's 34 now. We went 4 years ago, basically, yeah, right before COVID happened. That was my last trip there. And when we went in February then, it was pretty chilly. I mean, it was nice and then it was chilly. Well, this time it was cold, like hot. Sorry, not cold. It was more warm, not like terribly hot, but like if you were in the direct sunlight, it was hot. But then if you sat in the shade, it was fine. But I do prefer it to be a little bit chilly when I go, so I can wear a sweater and just, not worry about that. Anyways, that's my preference. You're probably like, don't care. So I do actually love to go in January and February. February is kind of hit or miss on what it's like, but it wasn't hot. It was warm in the direct sunlight, but if you sat in the shade or whatever, it was fine. Something I didn't realize was fast passes are gone. So if you're a Disney fan, you know that when you go, like you could book fast pass to get on the line quicker, to ride rides. Well, that apparently is gone once they got their new CEO, which I do believe has since been fired. Don't quote me on that. But there's a new thing called the Genie, but you do have to pay for it. And then you get to essentially kind of do like fast pass, like past the line. But then the newer rides are not on there. Like, so the Star Wars ride, and then the Galaxy, whatever the Galaxy ride is at Epcot, which is hella cool, by the way, was not on there. But I mean, why would you not go ride rides for Disney? So of course we paid, because who wants to stand in those long lines for Disney? But we got to stay at Animal Kingdom Villa again, or Animal Kingdom Lodge again. It was a villa. That's why I got tongue twisted, because our friend Rachel's mom was so fortunate to help us. She's a Disney Club member, so she got points to the resorts, and she got a really good deal. So we got to pay for that at a much, much, much cheaper price, which was very helpful, because we had, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 girls go. So then, of course, our Uncle Brian stayed somewhere else, and then all the girls stayed in an area. Well, her mom stayed with her Uncle Brian. So that was really fun that we all got to stay in the same room, and it was so big and spacious, like 2 bedrooms, living room with a pull-out couch, a little kitchenette, 3 full bathrooms. So 3 full bathrooms with 6 women. Amazing. Couldn't recommend it more. But my friends, they go typically to run the races. I did that once. Will not be doing that again, because love that Disney does that, but it's so early in the morning. I know they did so in February, it's the Princess Run, and they dressed up as the Little Mermaid, and it was the cutest thing. Their outfits was so cute. So I did wake up to see them get ready, tried to lay back down and go to bed, and then we ate breakfast at our resort one morning, where we got to sit there and actually watch the animals, and there was actually animals out this time. So super, super happy about the stay. And it was just a really fun time. Like, it was just a really fun, laughing at everything experience. It always is when I go. I can't say anything different. They actually all drove down there, and I was going to fly by myself from Huntsville, which we don't have a direct flight, so I was going to have a connecting in Atlanta and then land. Well, her mom unfortunately broke her back, and so she was going to fly with me, and she was like, call and see if we can get our seats together, because I had purchased mine like a month prior, and so the seats they weren't together. And I was like, I'm not using your disability to get our seats together. But then that morning, or the day before, I was like, can we I looked at the plane, and I saw that there was some like a whole row, or like 2 whole rows where you could sit together. So I was like, well, I'll just ask if we could sit together. So I did. I asked if we could sit together on the ride, and they said yes. They were very accommodating. It was Delta, by the way, if you're wondering. They were very accommodating, and was like, yeah, y'all can sit together. You could help her with anything she needs. So she actually had paid for a seat higher up on the plane, and I was in the back because I got the cheap seats. And they were like, is she okay with moving to the back of the plane with you? And I was like, yeah, she's okay with that. So she was in the back of the plane, and poor Callie, if you're listening to this, she then had to sit by the jet engine, and it was so loud. Thankfully, it's only like a 20-minute flight from Huntsville to Atlanta. But when we got on the plane, because they let so many standby people on the plane, since we had so many, actually, no, sorry, I lied. The flight from Huntsville to Atlanta was booked solid. So that's why I did that one. The one from Atlanta to Florida, they put a lot of standby people on the plane because it was empty. But they moved, I guess, a guy, which I would have never asked to do it if I would have known that they were moving someone. I thought there might have been like an empty seat, or they would have told me no, because it would have been perfectly fine. It was a 20-minute flight. I was just asking, like, my thing is ask. The worst thing anyone can ever tell you is no. And he was like, you're in my seat. And we're like, no, here's my ticket. And they were like, oh, okay. And he was like, it's fine. I don't mind switching with you or whatever. So shouts outs to the nice guy who allowed us to sit together on both flights. So that was amazing. And then when we flew back home, we used Breeze, which was the first time I've ever flown Breeze, and I thought it was a pretty good airline. It reminded me a lot of Southwest. They had the seats that Southwest apparently is getting soon, and people are upset about it, I guess, because they look like quote unquote lawn chairs. They were comfortable. I mean, they're not thick and plush, but they were not like a lawn chair where it was thin and you felt like you were falling out. I just thought it was more modern, I guess. I don't know. There's a big uproar on the internet about it. Don't know why, but there is. But one thing I forgot to mention, in Epcot, we had our Epcot day. Of course, you know, that's my favorite. That's most adults' favorites. You get to drink around the world. I don't drink beer, don't like it, but also gluten intolerant. So I don't drink beer. So I'll drink cider or like a mixed drink with vodka or tequila, like if it's a margarita or whatnot. So we all typically take 2 countries. That's what we do every time we go. And then just drink at your 2 countries, take pictures in front of the area, whatnot. Well, I always love to go to Mexico and get the avocado margarita. If you go to Epcot, I highly recommend the avocado margarita. Well, this time, for whatever reason, and I do not suffer from acid reflux, but this time it gave me such bad heartburn. So I was like, oh, I need to go eat something. So then I went and ate something. Felt much better. Well, my other country wasn't till France, so we had a long way to go. And I drank a cider in America, but then I did decide to eat a funnel cake. I know I mentioned I'm gluten intolerant. There's a couple of food groups that I will give up my gluten rule for, funnel cake being one of them. Love a good funnel cake. Love a good pizza too. So sometimes I'll do that. So I ate that. My stomach did instantly start hurting. So I was like, oh, maybe it's a gluten. We're good. So then we went to France, had a frozen, like, it almost tasted like an orange creamsicle. It was like basically vodka, Grand Mary, whatever it is, marinade, whatever it is. Y'all know I can't pronounce stuff. And then orange, whatever the orange was, like sherbet. I don't know. It was delicious. And so we were just sitting, like, we had our drinks and then we walked to the UK. They were getting their beers. We were sitting there. Mind you, I am not drunk. I've had 2 drinks and it's been spaced out and we've ate. Oh, sorry, I've had 3 drinks, counting the cider. Not really feeling anything. They were all spaced out. We had been there since 11 that morning. It was then 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I was like, I think I'm going to go back to Mexico and get another avocado margarita. And then that just be my drinks for the day, because there's nothing else that I really want. Don't really drink beer. No. Immediate heartburn again. So I think tequila's doing me wrong. I think we're going to have to give up tequila, which is very sad for me because I love a margarita. That's like probably my favorite drink of all times, especially a spicy pineapple margarita. It's like that sweet and spicy. But of course, pineapple causes acid reflux too. Y'all, I ended up so sick from this acid reflux. I was just like, what is going on? And then Mal, who suffers from acid reflux too, was like, hey, take this cough drop. And I was like, are you sure that's a good idea? It's got menthol in it. She was like, it helps me. So I was like, whatever, I'll try anything at this point. Popped that cough drop in my mouth, instantly had to run to the bathroom. I was like, I'm going to vomit everywhere. And if you don't know, menthol actually relaxes the sphincter of, which I knew this. I don't know why I did it anyways, but I was like, are you sure? And I got to the bathroom and I just vomited everywhere. I'm sure everyone in that bathroom was like, how drunk are you, lady? And I was like, I'm not even drunk. I was like, I just don't want to puke on these bushes. But it was the acid reflux. As soon as I puked, pain in my stomach went away, felt better. We then even went to Little Italy for dinner and had pizza, which maybe was a combination of the gluten from the funnel cake and then the drinks. Who could be too sure? But it's definitely a memory that will go down in the memory book. But yes, we then ate pizza at Little Italy with tomato sauce on it, which you would think that would cause more heartburn. It did not. It did not cause the heartburn to come back. And I felt comfortable eating the gluten at Little Italy because they import from from Italy. And if you've heard me say this before on the podcast, I'm just gluten intolerant. I don't have an allergy to it. So if you're gluten intolerant, usually you can have gluten in European countries because they don't crossbreed everything. They don't make everything like these frankenfoods like America does. And I actually didn't have any stomach aches or anything with the pizza or anything. So I'm hoping that I'm not developing acid reflux, but who could be too sure? I think it was truly just the tequila. That's the only time I've had like that burning sensation at the upper part of my stomach. And I was just like, this is so uncomfortable. So those out there who suffer from acid reflux, so sorry, because that is painful. Would not want to do that every day. But yeah, that was the Disney trip. It was a good time. It's always a good time. Oh, I didn't even mention my favorite part of the Disney trip every single time is the Lilo and Stitch restaurant, Ohana. That's where it's at the Polynesian. Lilo and Stitch are there. Love Stitch. He's my favorite Disney character. I don't know why. I think it's just because he's like this little alien dude that walks around and he's kind of angry. I don't know necessarily want to say he's angry, but he just kind of gets away with stuff. And the character at this restaurant is the same. Like he's just mischievous and gets in trouble all the time. And I find it hilarious. And Megan, I went to her house before we went on the Disney trip and she had stitched gloves. And I was like, cause I was like looking for some shirts and stuff to take cause I don't have a lot of Disney gear. And I was like, I am taking these Stitch gloves and I'm wearing them with this Stitch hoodie at Lilo and Stitch. And it was hilarious because we took pictures, we took videos. I posted that on my Instagram as well. So if you're dying to know what that looked like, because it was hilarious, because I took my glove off at one point because I was getting so hot and I was sweating. And I went to give him a high five and he just looked at me like, what? Human hand? And so I had to put it back on and give him a high five. But that was hilarious. I don't know how I almost forgot to mention that because that is my favorite restaurant. It's Ohana. Their breakfast is amazing. It's like a family style breakfast. And then of course they have Mickey and Goofy there as well as Lilo and Stitch. But love it. It's at the Polynesian Resort. Highly recommend. But yeah, that's like all I have to say about those 2 trips. I had a great time. I will say, like, I'm not a huge traveler, and I think it's just because I love my routine. I'm trying to break out of that. I'm trying to be more spontaneous and do things because that obviously builds character. And I also want to see parts of the world and you can't just stay home forever. I am very introverted. I will say that. I know it looks like I'm extroverted on social media, but social media is quote unquote a lie. It's a lie. It's fabrication. I would just love to just sit in my home in my sweats or my pajamas all day long. Couldn't say more about that. Love that. But I also enjoy like taking trips with my friends and making these memories because then when I'm sitting here like reliving them, whether it be telling it on the podcast or just looking at photos like and dying laughing and able to text my friends and just be like, do you remember this? Like how funny was that? And then just having a good laugh or going for drinks later and just like being like, yeah, let's talk about the trip. It was so funny. So I have my little travel crew that I travel with because they're huge into travel. They love traveling and I love traveling with them because they do all the planning and I just show up. So that makes it way less stressful for me. I'm like, tell me what flight to book, tell me how much money to save, tell me where we're staying. We're Gucci. So those are my trips. So I think I will leave this episode here since that was a little bit long and rambling on the trips. And yeah, guys, I will be back next week. I don't know if it will be or will not be with a guest or not, but thank you for listening to this babbling nonsense. As always, until next time, bye.